Hi guys. So today video is going to be a little bit different today. I was doing something recently and it caused me to kind of reflect about different fragrances that we used growing up, soaps and creams and things we used on our body. Some of them, the things were pretty good, some not so good. And so I was reflecting recently, and so this video is going to be about fragrances, the different fragrances over the years that I've liked and that I've used over the years, and just talking about some of the stuff that I started out using as a real young girl, because that's pretty much what my parents bought, and that was it. And I'm also going to be doing a giveaway in this video. I will explain that a little bit more as I go, and talk about explain what you have to do to have a chance today to win a free gift from me. And but I want to talk again. This video is about just reflecting on some of the things we've used over the years, guys. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And one of the things about me, for those of you who may not know, I've always been a lover of fragrances. And so I think I started to know this about myself when I was around about eighth grade. I didn't always really wear fragrances to school in the eighth grade at this time, but I would wear a lot to church. And growing up in my family, for those who don't know, was a vital part of music, even as a young girl at my church. And a little bit later, as I became a young teenager, we had a family group. And so for me, those were the times, and we did a lot of local traveling. Every time I can think about times on Sunday evenings, we were going to somebody's choir anniversary. Y'all know about that in the 80s, y'all. So those would be the times when I was probably more so 12, 13, that I would wear the fragrance, not so much to school every day at that time. But real quick, I want to reflect on, I remember the basic day-to-day things like our soaps and creams and lotions and things that I can remember wearing was basically predominantly because that's what my dad bought, and that's what we used at the time. And my mom and I and my brother under me would have been probably just a baby at this point, so it's just more so my mother and I using whatever my dad bought. So yeah, your girl used to use what? Right Guard. I can see that brown can right now. So yeah, as a young girl, my mom and I were using Right Guard because that's what Dad bought, and at the time, that's what she would use too. And soap, believe it or not, he was coming home with this green big box. Y'all know what was in that box? That green box, soap box. Yep, Irish Spring. So we use that for a period of time until he pops up one day and comes home with another different soap. And this is after a period of time of using the Irish Spring. He come home one day with this new soap, rocked my world. I went to the bathroom and saw this pink box and opened up this pink box. Y'all know what soap was in that pink box? You got it. It was Caress. So used Caress for a period of time, and I really liked the Caress. I can remember even going into Piggly Wiggly in Pine Tops, North Carolina, buying Caress myself when I would just go into the store and had my own preference of buying what soap I wanted to buy. I liked the Caress enough to buy it on my own. And so to the point until one Friday evening, my mom comes home, introduces something to me. And I want to say that I'm going to be calling out a few names in this video too, just to talk about, not as a disrespect. You'll hear me probably, laughing and just making it comical, not to disrespect anyone or any fragrance that I mentioned in this video. It's just because this is my story. I'm going down memory lane, and it's just me reflecting and remembering not to do this in a way to be disrespectful to any product that I may name or anyone that I may mention. It's just because certain people that I have met or have been in my path may be influential in introducing me to a particular fragrance that I may at the time didn't know anything about. So anyway, my mom comes home one Friday evening with this white bag, and introduces to me at this point in my life I've never heard of before. And in this bag was loaded with products. What products were these? Avon. And she introduces to me these roll-on bottles of Avon, which was our new deodorant. And each one of these roll-ons, she would give me the ones that she wanted me to use for myself, and also different fragrances and scents that Avon became a, a fragrance, or I should say became a company that really showed me how much I love fragrances at this point in my life when I'm about 12 or 13 years old. And so I have a few names, and this is kind of the question that's going to cause you guys today to be able to win a free gift I'm giving. So Avon in the 70s and 80s had some classics fragrances. They're staple classic fragrances, about five, maybe more, but five for sure I remember, that they would sell and retail for many years to come. And so I'm going to name a few of the of the favorites that my mom used to buy, and one that ended up becoming one of my favorite perfumes. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about the time that I began to realize that I really, really loved fragrances and how much I enjoyed the smell of things that smelled unique. I remember the day my dad came home with this box of stuff that I didn't know what it was. I knew that he would put it in his bath water, and it would turn the water completely blue, and it would literally scent up the whole bathroom, would be smelling so divine. And I believe this fragrance was called, this product back then was called Calgon. And there was another brand that he would buy too, that he would put in the water, and we had to sneak and use his stuff, because he would tell us, don't touch my stuff, don't touch my fragrance. And he was a lover of fragrance, like I said. And so I can remember the first time he introduced me to the different powdery type substance that you would put in your bath water, and it would kind of make you supposed to soften your skin, and it would really, really be very, very potent and fragrant. It would smell up the whole bathroom. But it was during this time that I started to realize how much I love scents, how much I love fragrances, to the point that when I did become about 12, 13, I started to go into town, Pine Tops, North Carolina, where I was born and raised, into the local drugstore, and I started to buy my own perfume. It was the highlight of a girl's year when I got to the point that I'm getting an allowance or different methods of how I, got money from relatives, and I would go into the drugstore in Pine Tops, guys, and I would buy my own perfume. I can remember my first encounter that I walk into this local drugstore. Yeah, y'all, the drugstore in Pine Tops, and I bought my first fragrance. And I remember the name of this first fragrance. And let's see if you guys remember. This would be literally my first fragrance that I went into this store. And I'm looking around, I'm smelling the different perfumes and colognes and things in the store that we call women fragrance back then, colognes. That's so funny. And the first fragrance that I can remember that I bought on my own with my own money in the drugstore in Pine Tops was called, y'all ready for this? Y'all remember this old commercial? Charlie. I bought my first fragrance that I felt was like, oh my God, like this smells so good, was Charlie. And I wore that for a little while until I learned a little bit later this other fragrance that came into my life, again because I was just kind of browsing in the drugstore, and I come to realize, maybe I would say months later, maybe about a year, that I actually wore the Charlie. There's another fragrance that I started to like, and it was called, do y'all remember this? Lady Stetson. Girl, I love me some Lady Stetson. I was like, this is some good smelling perfume. And I would sport Lady Stetson for a little while. And I'm still probably eighth grade, you know. And so in between my Charlie and Lady Stetson, my mom, again, like I said, introduced me to Avon. And this is where I started to learn about some of the fragrances that I loved by Avon. One that would end up becoming one of my favorites. So this is the trivia question that I'm asking you guys, that you'll have a chance at the end of this video to win a free gift from me. So the trivia question is, there were about 5 classics, again, by Avon, that were, like I said, it was popular for years, and they would sell these 5 major classics. It probably was a couple more. They would sell these classics for years to come. So I'm going to give you about 3 of them. So my mom was a huge love. Y'all remember? You ready for this? Avon's favorite class, some of their favorite classics was Timeless, Odyssey, oh, it was called Sweet. I think there was one called Odyssey, and one might have been called Sweet Odyssey. Candid. So my favorite Avon fragrance was, y'all ready for this? Topaz. I used to rock me some Topaz, y'all. I was like, this fragrance is so smoking. And so I wore a Topaz for a good little while, right into the time when I would be soon ready to go into high school. So between me wearing the Topaz, I also came across another fragrance in good old drugstore in Pine Tops. It was around this time, between 13, 14, that I also start to switch up. I put away Charlie, I put away Lady Stetson. And I was in the drugstore one day, and this white lady walked by me, and I was like, my head was going like this, like following the scent, because I smelled this fragrance I had never smelled before. Blew my mind. I put away Charlie, I put away Lady Stetson, and it was hello, Gloria Vanderbilt. I started to wear me some Gloria for years to come, in between the fragrances that I was also sporting, you know, when my mom would buy the Avon from time to time. And so these were fragrances throughout my younger years that I wore a lot, that I sported. You know, you can tell me nothing. Like, I'm smelling like $1 million to me at that time. That's what I felt like it was, you know. And so by the time I get into the period now where I am in a freshman in high school, and now I'm going to share with you this person who introduced something to me at this time, at this point in my life, or a type of fragrance in my life, during this period. It's just as I am going into high school. So this is like freshman year. I want to give a shout out to my auntie, Aunt Clarita, and my uncle Charles, aka Uncle Pop. These peoples introduced to me something at this time that I had never encountered before. I thought I was wearing some of my best fragrances, and they come home one summer, my auntie Clarita, with something in this black bag. And I want to say about my Aunt Clarita, you know, just to give her a shout out, because she's really been very inspirational to me growing up, in ways of just introducing things to me, that to bring things out of me that I didn't know at the time that was there. Like I said, my love for fragrances. And I remember that she would, you know, she's the auntie that whenever she would come home, this is during her years when she lived in Washington, D.C., she would always come home with a gift. I'm saying that just to give her a shout out, because she is the epitome of a gift giver. And I thank you for that, auntie. You know, just always coming home with, and we would just love it to hear that she's come. Aunt Clarita come home next month. We know we're going to get some good gifts, y'all. We're going to get some good gifts. And she's just always been a gift giver to me and my cousins. And my mom, definitely my mother. She's been such a blessing to my mom. Thank you again, Auntie. And like I said, just introducing things to me as a young girl that I had never encountered before. And so it was her who introduced me to um, this perfume that was referred to as referred to as perfume oil. Lord, she rocked my world, y'all. I'm telling you, this was game changer. She breaks up in the house probably around about 1984 with something called oils. Never heard of that before, never experienced it, never smelled it. And there were different fragrances and different scents that she had in that little black bag. This little black bag with all these different little bottles. These were like little bottles of different fragrance oils, and she would have us to kind of smell and see which ones we like. So I'm going to give you real quick a few of some of the ones that I remember during this time that she brought home. It was game changer, y'all. It was goodbye Gloria Vanderbilt, hello perfume oils. And so some of the ones that she introduced us to were called, and you guys remember this? If y'all remember, this was in the beginning, at first, this was one of my favorite scents out of the perfume oils. There were a few, but at first, this would one of my favorite scents, and later on, it would end up becoming one of the worst ones for me because I guess too many people start wearing it and they just start doing something to my nose. But in the beginning, at first, one of my favorite perfume oils that she introduced to me was, y'all ready for this? Y'all remember this fragrance? It was called what? Egyptian musk. Was my favorite. Child, every time you turn around, I was sporting that Egyptian musk. That was one of my favorites. But some of the other ones to name real quick that she would bring home were Halston. One of our favorites was White Linen. Giorgio. All of these names at the time I had never heard before. So I only was introduced to these fragrances through her, through these fragrant oils that she was bringing home from Washington, D.C. Gosh, I'm just trying to remember. There was so many different types. Halston was another name that I never encountered until she was bringing these fragrant oils. And then there were also some that she was bringing home that were for men. But White Linen will become one of my favorites that I used to sport. So that was my introduction to perfume oils. Fell in love with perfume oils, guys. It was game changer. It was bye-bye to all of those little small town department store fragrances that I was wearing at the time. And so I used to get so many compliments, guys, when I started. Then this is when I start wearing fragrances to school daily. And I often would get people to question me, to ask me, like, what are you wearing? And it was game changer. Like the texture of the oil, the potency of the oil, it was on point, and it was still at this time in 1984. It wasn't a lot of people, probably maybe my age. I don't even know if it was a lot of adults in my area where I grew up in that really at the time was really up on perfume oils. But it would become very dominant, as the years went on. And so much to the point where, a lot of the perfume oils that you would start seeing in places like beauty supply stores and stockyards and all that kind of stuff, those were not the same. The potency wasn't the same, and they weren't long lasting. And so, but perfume oil was introduced to me by my auntie and through my Uncle Pop, who he at the time was living in New York, and he would also bring home these perfume oils. And we were like, when we would give out, we were calling them faithfully, like, hey, we need some more Halston, we need some more White Linen. And it was game changer for me. Like it was, and at the time, again, I had never heard of these names, Halston, White Linen, and all these type names, until moving fast forward. And I'm gonna probably have to make this video probably two-part because it gets pretty lengthy. And I do want to explain again, or give you guys a chance to win the free gift. But I eventually got turned on to what we would call more of a high-end department store fragrances, which for us, where we were living, would be Belk. And so I sported my oils and most through high school. That's what I was wearing, was oils. Somewhere along the way, I got introduced to Mary Kay. One of my favorite Mary Kay fragrances that I wore for a while was called Acapella. It was on the sweeter side, and a lot of the fragrances that I liked when I was younger were on the sweeter side. I wasn't really into a lot of the more earthy scents and more woody scents. Those are definitely my go-tos now, and that's what I love today. But I liked the acapella back then by Mary Kay. And I'm going to now call out a name of a person who, this person at this time in my life was influential in my desire for fragrances start to broaden more. My desires start to shift a little bit because this particular person was wearing this fragrance one day. We were hanging out quite a bit, and she was wearing this fragrance one day. Changed my life. I was like, what scent is that, girl? I love this. And that person was Pumpkin Huzzy, aka Catherine Huzzy. Shout out to my girl. Hey, Pumpkin. Miss you guys, you and Frida. So this day, Pumpkin was wearing this fragrance. At the time, again, this was probably around about 16, 17. I had never heard of this fragrance at this time. And she was sporting what? Ralph Lauren. The original Ralph Lauren. And in the purple bottle, y'all remember that? I was like, Pumpkin, where'd you get that from? So this would be the time for me where I started to now go into a high-end department store and start to learn about a different level of fragrances. I didn't know at the time that a lot of those fragrance oils that my auntie was bringing, that those were in fact their version of what, for instance, Halston. Because the first time I walked into Belk, I mean, I've been in Belk before, but I never just really hung out in the perfume section to really kind of see what they had. And my first day I was there, I was like, white linen? Like, where is white linen in these bottles in here? And Halston and Giorgio and all of these fragrances that I only knew by oils were all in Belks, in these fancy looking bottles. That was the introduction and the start of me and my love for more of a high-end fragrance in more of a high-end department store. My first day in Belks, I'm just kind of smelling like I used to do in little small-time drugstore Pine Tops. Now here I am in Belks, walking around smelling, and I hear something say, psst, psst. Lord God, it was a fragrance calling me over to it. This fragrance was called Poison. I sported Poison for years, guys. I fell in love with Poison by Dior, if I'm remembering correctly. And between the Poison and the Beautiful by Estee Lauder. These two fragrances I would sport for a long time. I wore them for a while. I love them. But now I'm going to go on and get to, this is going to be a two-part video. But by the time I get to the point where I moved to Charlotte, I wore Beautiful by Estee Lauder for many, many years. Even my time in Charlotte, when I first moved to Charlotte, I was sporting Beautiful for quite a while. And then during my years, my husband and I, during the time that we were singing in this choir in Charlotte, under the direction of a gentleman by the name of Greg Hoover, who we honor and salute. We lost him a few years ago, but during this period of time was when I met a beautiful brother and sister. The sister is the one who was walking into the rehearsal one night, and again, for me, it was a smell I'd never encountered before. Never had smelled this scent. And she walks in. I was like, following the scent, like, what this girl wearing? Like, this smells good. And so that person would be, big shout out and salute to Walter Johnson and his sister Tracy, who I know is not on Facebook. I mean, the last time that I remember, that I saw that she was on Facebook. But big shout out to Walter if he sees this video. His sister Tracy, back in around about 1992, 93, was sporting this fragrance, y'all. It was called Alexander Julian. Y'all, it was game changer again. I had to find out, like, what you wearing? And I ended up getting me some Alexander Julian and wore that for a while. But I'll continue to talk about some other different fragrances in part 2 of this video. But I want to say I gave about 3 classics talking about Avon fragrances. And so for the first person who inboxes me with another classic name of Avon fragrance, you have a chance to win a so all of the things that I've talked about over the years of my love for fragrances and different things that I was turned on to is a part of where I'm at today. I now make my own fragrances. I also make a yummy homemade natural rich body butter. And that is what I'm going to be giving away as a free gift to anyone who can name another, like I said, classic of Avon. There were about 5 or 6. I named a few. So if whoever inboxes me first with the correct answer of another classic of Avon fragrance, you can win and will win a jar of a all natural body butter cream. And I'm going to see if I can open this jar to let you guys kind of look at the consistency a little bit. It's been raining here today. Again, it seems like every time I'm videoing, it's raining. So, let's see. Not sure if you can see how rich and thick and yummy that is. You see that? Such a rich and thick cream. All natural ingredients. A nice consistency. And I have different scents, but this one is like a chocolate mint. But it's so yummy for your skin. Your skin will thank you. And I've been making some products for several years, and I really haven't did anything that I would say really big yet, because sometimes things, you're always perfecting, always smells so good. You're always just learning more and evolving when it comes to things like that, much like what music would be, what music is. But I am going to be giving away a 8-ounce jar of this yummy body butter cream, all natural. So whoever inboxes me first tells me the answer to the question that I said, I will ship to you that free gift. And all I ask in return is you to just let me know your feedback on the product. Again, it's a part of making sure your product is being perfected, that it's doing what I want it to do as far as the nurturing of your skin. And also in the meantime, it smells divine. And there are a few scents that I feel like is pretty staple. But that particular one, I think I made this during the holidays. So this is one of my chocolate mint scents. But so, and then when I come back, I'm going to talk about phase 2 of my journey over the years with fragrances. Some different fragrances that I met, people that I met, that introduced me to some other fragrances that was just life changing, y'all. So again, big shout out to Walter Johnson and Tracy for introducing me to another fragrance that was just mind-blowing to me, and I sported that fragrance for quite a while until I just started to learn about so many more. I mean, over the years, gosh, I've used a lot of different fragrances over the years. But thank you so much for hanging with me in this video, guys. I'll again be coming back to you at part 2 and to also announce the winner. Thank you. Keep loving the Lord. Keep loving your neighbors. And just give a smile and be encouraging, because sometimes a smile is all a person need to encourage their day. Love you. Grace and peace be unto you from the Lord our Father, Jesus Christ, y'all. Thank you for walking down memory lane with me with my fragrances and just reflecting on some of the stuff that we grew up on. Yes, love you.